This particular module, we're going to talk about SQL Server and protecting SQL Server, specifically on Dell EqualLogic PS series storage. So Auto Snapshot Manager runs in a Microsoft Management Console interface, and through the VSS writer for SQL, we can acknowledge the instances that are running on the host and the underlying databases that are running inside the instances. From there, we can issue data protection schemas, including snapshots, volume clones, replication from one PS series group to another for disaster recovery, and we can manipulate these data protection capabilities out on a PS series SAN. So locally, we have snapshot protection and volume clones. Now, snapshots offer a more enhanced data protection capability for your SQL Server databases. We encourage you to continue with your long-term protection, full protection to tape, differentials during the day, transaction log protection, but snapshots offer a faster data protection and a rapid restore capability for instant recovery of your data as well as object-level data inside your SQL Server database. And I'm going to show you how to do that in the live demonstrations to follow. We also include replication from one PS series group to another PS series group for disaster recovery. So through VSS and Auto Snapshot Manager, you can automate the replication operations from one group to another group, and then in the event in your data center disaster, you can then upload those replicas to your second site or your second PS series group and recover your data there. So we call them smart copies because they include snapshots, volume clones, as well as replicas. It's just another term that replaces essentially the Microsoft term, which is a volume shadow copy. But they offer, it's transparent to existing backup applications. So if you're running a tape or a backup application such as one of our partners like Symantec or Commvault, running VSS snapshots and protection out on the SAN is transparent to those operations. It offers more frequent data copy protection and faster recovery than typical restore from tapes or even restore from your disks. It also enables parallel processing, so if you have multiple instances of your SQL Server running in your data center and perhaps you want to offload your reporting or data mining operations from one host onto a dedicated reporting or data mining server, you can do that via transportable snapshots. What that means is we can directly connect to the snapshot out on the SAN from any host in the environment. Once you connect to the snapshot, you can import that snapshot onto the actual host and your SQL Server instance and offload these operations onto a different instance. Smart Copy also facilitates test and development operations. So we offer the ability of administrators to create instant copies of their database environments, hand those copies off to their test or dev teams, and without interrupting or disturbing their production environment. And I'll show you how to do that as well. And always, snapshots also increase or help facilitate maintenance and application upgrades. So patches, service pack upgrades. Before you do the patch or before you install the service pack, create a snapshot. If something goes wrong, you have the ability to roll back to that known good point in time. So let's show a live demonstration on how this would work. So I have a remote desktop here of a SQL Server 2005 instance, and I have my InventionWorks database installed. What I've done previous to this is I've installed the EqualLogic host integration tools. Now the host integration tools includes a number of different modules, including an MPIO, DSM. It includes a remote setup wizard, which facilitates setup and configuration of a PS series SAN. It also includes the VSS provider as well as the Auto Snapshot Manager, which acts as our VSS requester application. So Auto Snapshot Manager, as I mentioned, recognizes the SQL Server writer component, which then tells us the instances that are running on this host and the underlying databases. One thing you'll notice is that some of these databases show up in grayed out icons, others show up with highlighted or blue icons. Now, the blue icons are databases that are hosted out on a PS Series SAN. So it lets us know that we can manipulate these databases and protect these databases using SAN protection capabilities. If I highlight my AdventureWorks database, it gives me a summary of the underlying structure of the database, where my files are residing, whether or not it's selectable for backup, and the types of backup that are included. So snapshots, replica, and clones. Now, the reason why replica is enabled is because I have replication set up between one PS Series group and another PS Series group. How we can create these different protection points, we can do it manually by either right-clicking on this database, or we can use the Actions menu over here and create a smart copy set. Yes? So the difference between a replica and a snapshot is basically a snapshot is local protection using a snapshot out on the SAN, whereas a replica is essentially a snapshot that we're replicating over to an off-site PS Series group or for disaster recovery purposes. And a clone is a full copy of a volume, so 100% the size of the volume, whereas a snapshot is just the delta or the changes that have taken place since the previous snapshot. So let's go ahead and create a smart copy of our AdventureWorks database. This will bring up a few different options of, the type of smart copy that I want to create, be it a snapshot, clone, or replica. I'll just use snapshot for this example, and then it allows me to choose the backup type. Now, the backup type is important in terms of the type of recovery you want to do. So the full backup type puts a checkpoint in my transaction log file that tells my database or my SQL server that there was a backup operation at this point in time, and allows me to recover additional transaction log files that I may have created if I'm running transaction log backups. I can use those as additional granularity during the restore operation. The copy is if I want to hand off a copy of my database to my test or my development teams, I can easily create a copy of the database and then allow those teams to connect to the snapshot out on the SAN and use that for their testing and development. Click Next, and this gives me a summary of the operation I'm about to do, and then I can click Create. So now we're going to go out and we're going to quickly create a snapshot out on a PS Series SAN of this database. So this will just add an additional protection point to my already ongoing schedule that I created as well. So we have the ability to ongoing protect this database through schedules, whether it's one schedule or multiple schedules per database. I can easily configure a new schedule and put in the criteria that I would like, whether it's once an hour, once every 15 minutes, once every half hour. We go as granular as every 5 minutes. And it's really up to your recovery point objective as to how often you want to create a snapshot. We have email notification on tasks. I'm going to bypass that. And then I can create a new name for this. I'll just call it Hour Snap. Click Next. Define the start time, when I want it to run. And I can repeat this task once an hour. I'll choose Next. Choose the backup type. I'll use full again, and the type of smart copy, so I can do this both for snapshots and replicas. We don't allow you to create a schedule for clones just because they can be so space intensive depending on the size of the original parent volume. You start to consume storage resources, and we don't want our customers getting into trouble in terms of over-provisioning storage and so on. The keep count setting allows me to keep a certain number of these protection points around at any point at all times. So I have 8 here. After I create 8 on the 9th smart copy, I'm going to go ahead and remove the oldest one. And then I can run this task as a specified user if it's a SQL Server user or a domain account user, or as a system user. And create. So now I have this original schedule that I had here that runs every 15 minutes, and I also have another one that runs every hour.